when he's in his Moon Knight form and he's wrapped up in bandages.
I was just gonna say that.
And he jumps off the cliff, goes into slow-mo, and that lightning bolt behind his back. It is so cool.
I'm not gonna say this is like recency bias or anything, but the action in this movie is probably the best I've seen in any Indian movie.
Pizza time.
Pizza time. How's it going, guys?
Guess who it is? That Alex?
Alex,
you look different, bro.
A bit different. Yeah.
Yeah. Guys, a very, very, very special episode. Who we got in here? Someone that you may, if you've been following us, you've heard a few times. A lot of it wrong. Formerly known as Abishey, as me and Alex used to wrongly completely say. We apologize for that. Everybody.
Yo, honest to God, I'm known as Abishey now. Just keep calling me Abishey. That's okay.
That's fine. All right. Abishey, or properly known as Abishey. He's on the pod. Guys, this is crazy. He's like our first guest. He's our first guest. And dude, I can't thank you enough for being here. We were so excited to have you here.
I'm very happy. I'm so happy to be here, man.
Thank you so much, dude. And if you got a little backstory, like if you don't know, like Abishey's been hitting us up on our Instagram.
Yes, sir.
I don't want to put words in his mouth, but for us, he's been like our #1 fan. He's always been talking to us. You've been watching the pod since roughly the beginning, dude. Like, is that true?
Yes, sir. Yeah, man. Yes, sir. I've been watching since I think the RRR review. Yeah. That's how I found you guys. I'm like, oh shit. And then you guys started reviewing more Indian movies, and I'm like, oh wow, they actually like get deep into it. They get deep into these movies, so I'm like, yo, let me keep watching these guys.
Dude, and you wouldn't be the first. I think a lot of the particularly Indian audience got with us with the RR review, which is by far our biggest, still our best performing video, and so I'm not surprised by that. But to know that people like you, like real cinephiles, are watching and they stick around for us and can recognize that me and Alex are basically the same type of people, and we're just here doing the show. It's like we really, really, really appreciate you, man. So thank you so much.
Man, anytime, bro. You don't need to thank me, bro. Just keep making the videos. I'll keep watching them,
and we'll have you more on because this is going to be great. And to explain, no, you're gonna be sick. Look, so by the way, he is sick.
Yo, I'm dying. I'm sweating.
He's still on the pod, dude. I told you, dog.
To be here.
I again, thank you for that too. Like you got a little bit of a rough cold, but we appreciate you. Nothing that a good Tylenol could fix. There we go, son. There we go. That Dayquil. That's what it is. So just to explain why Alex is not here, as you might know, we've been saying that he's in prep to get married. So that's where he's at. He's in Italy right now. Gonna be lost with us forever. Hopefully he comes back. I'm just kidding. Liv, I love you. But yeah, he's there, and so we've backlogged a lot of videos coming out. But he's not here this weekend. I'm gonna head out to Italy next weekend. But we got videos for you, so stick around. But this is gonna be one of them, and we thought, like, who better than Abishey to watch?
Thank you guys. Well, I appreciate it.
We're doing Jawan, dog. So today's our Jawan review, and we both watched it. 2 days ago? Like opening night, essentially.
Yeah, we watched it at the exact same time, straight up.
It was wild. Oh, by the way, so people don't know, he's in Toronto while I'm in LA. So he's like 3 hours ahead. And my time, my showing was at 6:30. He told me that
mine was at 9:30.
9:30 p.m., which is exactly at the same time.
Like midway through the movie, like our thoughts. It was pretty sick. Yeah.
Dude, you give me the exact like Alex vibes, because that's what me and Alex would do. Is like we would try to get like times around each other, and so we'd be texting each other. It's so fun.
That's good, man. That's cool.
Well, actually, but before we get into the Jawan review, though, really quickly, just for the audience. So, can you tell us a little bit about your background in the sense of Indian cinema? Like, how did you grow up with it? You being in Toronto, obviously, is that where your family's from? Like, can you give us a little background on that?
So, I'm not even Indian. I'm from Pakistan, right? Mm-hmm. But I grew up in Toronto my whole life. I got into Indian cinema through my mom. So, my mom was a big movie buff, right? So, I grew up watching the old SRK movies. I grew up watching Bollywood in general, right? So for me, it wasn't even like Hollywood and Bollywood. It wasn't two separate things. For me, it was just movies. Like I grew up with them. So I've seen SRK was like the first actor I knew.
Sure.
I knew him by name, the first one ever.
Would you consider him like? Is it accurate when I always refer to him as like the Tom Cruise of Indian cinema, in the sense that like he's that guy.
Is. He's that guy. He's the king of Bollywood.
Yeah, exactly. So that's not inaccurate to say as someone who's watched him for so long.
Not inaccurate at all.
And for someone like me who's only like just recently sort of gotten okay, so that makes a lot of sense. Okay, and so that's really interesting though. So how did your mom get into it then?
So like India and Pakistan, there's a whole lot in that,
of course.
But like we've all grown up, like if you're from Pakistan, right? You're watching Bollywood movies either way.
Right.
It's just culture kind of.
Yeah. Similar.
So yeah, like she was a big movie fan. She started showing me all the Bollywood movies. And through her, I started like loving Bollywood as well. For me, it was like, these are just movies. It's not a difference in like Hollywood or Bollywood.
And so were you watching both growing up too? So you were just watching all like, was it American and Indian Bollywood cinema mostly? That was the mixture?
At home, it was usually just Bollywood.
Oh, really?
Right?
Wow. Okay.
But when you're outside, when you're with your friends, obviously that's when you get into the Hollywood stuff. But even my family, they watched both growing up.
Wow. Yeah.
I got into like my mom was showing me Bollywood, my dad was showing me like Indiana Jones.
That is such a cool mix, both man. Sides, bro. That is so dope. I'm Filipino, and it's like, I grew up kind of watching some Filipino movies, but not really. My parents aren't particular cinephiles.
I didn't even know Filipinos making movies, bro. That's something new stuff.
This is gonna be. I can make it because I'm Filipino. This is a joke, but we don't make movies. We just copy everybody else. That's really just what happens.
a lot of countries do that. I won't lie.
A lot of companies do, but dude, Filipinos just like rip the freaking. They might as well just take AI and just put the freaking American face on people on their movies. The same thing. But there are some great Filipino movies. I'm just
you got to send me a list, man. I gotta check them out.
You do. I'm not the best person at that, but I will. I know some, and I'll do my best. But hey, if anybody wants us to cover Filipino movies, that might be a thing. Hey, who knows? But
call me for the podcast when it comes.
Hell yeah,
I want to watch some.
That
Filipino
might be cool,
movies.
actually. Yeah, that might be a cool idea.
That actually might be cool.
Start doing like just kind of snake our way into different foreign cinema, being from different places. I think that'd be the coolest thing. So let's put a pin on that. Let's put a pin on that because, well, thank you for giving a little background in there. It's really fascinating. I'm sure it will come out more once we do the review. But why don't we get into the review finally for Jawan? Let's do it. A little background on the movie. I mean, and you correct me. You correct me if I ever say anything off. Alex does it all the time, but I'll do my best. Okay,
bro, you guys are doing your best. It's okay. It's all good, man. It's all good, bro. I'm not even the best at saying names either. Bro. It's all good.
Well, let's see how we do today. So for Jawan, I think it is like, is it the biggest release of the year in India? Is this like one of the biggest, most anticipated movies of the year? I think it might.
I've been keeping up with the news and stuff. I think right now it's bigger than Pathaan. Because Pathaan was the biggest so far, and I think it broke all the records already. In terms of pre-sales, I think it broke it. I think opening day it broke it already.
It's fantastic.
It's on its way to become the highest-grossing Hindi film of all time.
Oh my!
Like that's what the reports are saying, and that's only been one day. So that's pretty cool.
That's the power of probably everybody involved, but like SRK is right there, man.
Power
that's
gonna be part of it, man.
Yeah. So Jawan is like, if not the biggest movie coming out in India this year, 2023. Excuse me. It's an Indian action thriller. If you don't know, if you haven't seen the trailer, go watch it. But it stars obviously the GOAT SRK and the king, and it's basically a story about a man who we don't know a lot about in the beginning. He's this guy who inexplicably had gone through some trauma that led him to a small village where they had to take care of him, but he lost his memory. And then we get transported to the present day where all of a sudden the same person, or so we think, wink, wink, spoiler-filled review, is suddenly becoming this sort of Robin Hood freedom fighter of some sort. And
vigilante.
A vigilante, yeah. It's a good way of putting it. And he has this team of women And that's basically what this story is about, is them going around just trying to stick it to the man and the system and bring prosperity to the prosperity to the poor, essentially. And then so much freaking more. Holy crap, this movie is stacked.
There's a lot more.
There's so much more.
There's so much in this movie.
We're about to get into it. So that is Jawan. If you haven't seen it, go out and see it. But let's start a review. So let's give our thoughts on the movie. Abishey, I'm going to start with your review. So what did you think of Jawan?
It's a movie, you know? Like, it's something. It's something.
Oh, boy.
I was anticipating it a lot.
Yeah.
But, I was disappointed. It's too much. There's too much going on. Like, I see what they were trying to do, but it's a very messy movie, bro. It doesn't know what it's supposed to be at points. And by the end, you're just waiting for it to be like, wrap it up. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And honest, like, for sure, it's an SRK movie. So SRK is carrying it. If it was any other actor, I don't think it would be as good as it is. SRK is carrying them, I swear. But like, I thought it was all right, but at points it did get a little messy. It did get dragged on too much. But like, those are my overall thoughts. I have a bunch of pros and a bunch of Shah Rukh Khans.
Just talking all about SRK, which is fine. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. But
I don't want to get into spoilers right now. I want to hear your thoughts first.
Absolutely. But yeah, dude, I mean? So you were disappointed. Yeah.
I was very disappointed, actually.
So I would have to say that I completely agree with you, dude. As hyped as and maybe it was the bit of the hype, but at the same time, when you see these trailers, it's SRK. The pop and circumstance behind these movies is so huge. Everyone behind the camera. It's like, how could you not expect something like one of the greatest things you've ever seen? And it didn't have to do that. Plus the hype. The hype is huge.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I was also disappointed with the movie. That being said, it's far from the worst action Indian action thriller. Yeah. It's not the worst.
I've seen way worse.
I've seen way worse. We've both seen way worse.
Yeah.
Even in my short little time with Indian movies, but it was definitely disappointing, 100%. And the big reason why is because, in my opinion, when they were selling the movie, it was looking like it was some just crazy action film that maybe had some biblical or religious ties because of the intro and him in the rap. You think, and you don't really know what's going on, but there's so much action happening and there's so much visual flair. You're just like, who gives a shit? But then you go into the movie and you realize a big part of the movie is this. And it's in the right place. Its heart's in the right place, but it's this big socioeconomic political statement.
It's a political movie.
It's a political movie. It really is, and a lot of it gets delved into a lot of that and gets bogged down with a lot of that. So that's where I think the movie became something I wasn't expecting. I think it's something that a lot of people won't be expecting, and maybe it works for some people. And I think ultimately you can still have a good time. I think. Overall, the visuals and the action are freaking fantastic. Really, really good. It's the strongest part, right?
I think the VFX and the hand-to-hand combat, it was probably the best in any Bollywood movie I've ever seen. Dog, straight up.
100%. 100%. There's a particular sequence we'll get into that I was like, holy shit, that is awesome. Yeah. That action is I think the best that I've seen in any Indian movie thus far. No, mine's the truck scene. The truck. Oh yeah, I thought that was just fantastic. I thought it was great.
I thought we'll get into it.
We'll get into it. But action is fantastic. But man, that story really just gets bogged down. I think that's where people may have a slip up on, and why I was ultimately disappointed with the film.
It's in my cons too. It's just a very messy screenplay.
It really is.
Too much going on.
So let's get into it. Let's start there. So, because that is like the big con. Let's get the con out of the way. Okay. So let's talk about the screenplay. We already started. So what are your thoughts on the way that they handled it with the political message and the themes? What do you think?
Like, I'm not Indian, right? So I can't judge this movie on like the political landscape of India.
Obviously.
But like, if we're talking like surface level, I thought the messaging, like for what it is, like you get it, like you can relate to it.
Totally.
But it got to the point where like midway through the movie, like he broke the fourth wall.
Yeah, he did, straight up.
He's talking to us, like straight up to the audience, and it's like,
let's set up that scene really quick. So he's on air. He's a lot like the Joker and Batman put together. This character that he has, by the way, that's how I describe him, which is kind of cool.
He's a lot of characters.
He's a lot of characters. Yeah, classic Indian style all the way, but like a lot of like people playing dual roles and shit. But there's a scene where he's like talking to he's like a bit of a vigilante, so he's the classic sort of like, taking over the airwaves and talking to the audience, and he's just basically straight up saying like, if you want, you should vote. In order to vote correctly, you should pay attention. Wake up, right? That's essentially the message. Yeah. But you're right, dude. He's speaking like not just
he's talking to the audience.
He's talking straight to the audience, and to the point where it took me out because I was like, oh, okay, like so this is not the movie right now. Like you're making like a statement to the world, which is again fine, but in the world,
I get what they're trying to do, but like when it comes to like, I get what they're trying to do, but it just bogs down the movie so much, bro. Like you had a good pace going on, and then it just gets to that point where it's like, I get it. Like there's a lot of political heat that's going on in India right now. So I guess the biggest star talking directly to the people, I get what they're trying to do, but it just brings the movie down so much, man.
It really does. No, it feels like the movie like literally gets on a different track every single time one of these scenes occurs. And again, it's not like it's not narratively tied, because the whole point of his character is that he's seen the atrocities of how big corporations and government can can turn their head away from the minority class and the poor, right? That's the whole theme of the movie, is that like there's a disparity, economic disparity between the rich and the poor, and they absolutely don't want to help out the poor. And so the whole point is that in order for that class to get risen up and be treated equally, I guess some shit needs to be dismantled, right? That's the whole thing. But which is a fine narrative. That's cool. But you're right. Like it's too much. It was almost too to the audience, and I'm just like, okay, so this is just like. There's just a political evidence. It's almost like, I don't want to say propaganda. Propaganda is such an icky word, but it kind of felt that way. I'm just like, oh. I was like, I just kind of I thought I was here for an action movie. I just wanted an action movie. Even the political stuff, if you're like getting into it as a movie, like as a whole, the movie has no subtlety at all. There's no nuance, right? No. So even when they're doing the political stuff, it's like very on the nose. Like he's breaking the fourth wall. So everything about the movie is like, there's no nuance, there's no subtlety. So I guess that's why it feels like that. No, you said it perfectly. There's no nuance in its execution of that part of the movie. It's two movies. It wants to be this action
movie,
and then this basically political propaganda, and it doesn't work, and it completely takes you out of the movie, and that saddened me, because I was just these trailers don't show any of that, rightfully so, because why would you're going to lose a lot of the audience if that's the case, because most people,
I didn't expect it to be like
me too. That was the big shock of the movie. And when you watch an SRK movie like Pathan, right, when you follow this up with Pathan, which had no, that was straight up Indian action, fun and ridiculousness, to follow it up with this, it just felt just really Trojan horsed in, and I didn't love that. And but it's a good talk to have, because
I like how you said there, it's like two different movies in one.
Yeah,
that's exactly how I felt. Watching it, I felt like you could have had just a normal action movie, and you could have had all the political elements subtly.
Yes,
but it's just too on the nose. Like for example, like I have it in my notes here.
Go for it.
When they're on the train, and they're talking about like the injustice that happened to these women that he's a part of. Bro, randomly, it just cuts to this one girl and her whole flashback. It's like a 10-15 minute long flashback, bro. And like that girl barely is in the movie after that. Like, what's the point of it, right?
Exactly. I have that exact note. I have that exact note. Keep going.
Like what's the point of it, right? You could have said it in dialogue. You could have just, made it a little shorter too.
There's a perfect example of how they could have done it later in the movie, like literally near the end, when one of the girls again, spoiler territory. When one of the girls gets shot, they ultimately die. But in that moment, they're trying to save her. But in that moment, she has a flashback to, we get a bit of her background as to why she's been there. And I thought that was excellently done. Yeah, they're just really quick flashes. And it was perfect storytelling. I was like, oh, I get it. Oh, okay. I feel for this character in this moment. They could have done that with all of them, if anything. But especially in that moment, because you're in this high intense, pretty awesome action scene, really, to be honest with you. I was really enjoying it until that moment. And it just stays there for like ever. And I'm like, oh, and it's real. And look, the movie, it's in those moments, it's depressing. Like it's, you're happy because of all the action shit. And then all of a sudden you're just depressed as shit. And I'm like, there's a right place and time for both of these things, guys. Like, but to mix them together like this is,
For example, there's a movie like, let's say like, for example, 3 Idiots, right?
Love it.
They do like how they switch moods. They do it very good,
masterful,
right? Like let's say, like for example, when you see him hanging after that fucking song, you feel it, like that tonal shift, like it works. But for this movie, it's like there's so many tonal shifts that just come out of nowhere, and they stay too long. And especially when the scene has so much energy, it just brings down the whole mood, the whole energy of the whole movie, like so fast, bro.
Well, again, that's what happens when you're like writing a screenplay. And I think I'm pretty sure the political themes were an afterthought. They were like, well, how do we add this in to this ridiculous action movie that was supposed to just be your typical action movie? And that's what happens. Like, you don't really, I don't know when in production they decide to sort of make it this way, but it's pretty clear that that's what happened, because then these scenes come in and they're just like, these don't match. They just don't work.
Yeah.
They don't follow. There's no flow into them or smooth out or in. And it's just, it's so jarring, and it really brings you out. It really sucks. And people have done it better, way better in movies where
100%.
You can have those. We're not saying you can't have those scenes, and I'm not saying that I didn't sympathize when these scenes were on, but they were just so different in tone that it just makes for a bad movie experience, you know, in that sense. So I couldn't agree with you anymore that I think they could have just smoothed that out a little bit, but because they were just so, I mean, literal fourth wall break, it's just like,
that took me out. I'm like, yo, what's going on?
No, it bothered me. It sucked. It really sucked. And again, these are important things to talk about, but
like if it's
make a political movie, then just make a movie for that. Don't inject it here. It's not. I don't think it's the right place. But
like it's a thing that probably Indians do have to hear. I'm not too sure, but like for them, it could be like, okay, we had to hear it, especially from the biggest star in the world.
Sure,
maybe. But for like a move, like for anyone else that's outside of India or whatever, when they're watching it, it's like it totally slows down the movie. It just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think there's a cultural thing here where it's like this is made for Indian audiences specifically.
This is like specific. Obviously, like you have to be living in India for this.
So I'm sure most people won't even be. I'm sure they might even find it refreshing, maybe, right? From their perspective. 100%. You let us know in the comments, like if you've seen the movie, let us know. But we can only speak for as people who are not Indian or have grew up in India, that like as a movie going experience, that was a bummer to say the least. It was such a bummer. But so that was probably the biggest con of the movie. If you cut those out, it's a pretty solid freaking movie, and I think I would have placed this higher, but unfortunately that's just not the movie that we got. So
okay, let's get back to like the girls in the movie, like that
girl
team.
That girl team, who you learn that he's I forgot to open up with that. This is basically like Jailer 2, but his character is a jailer, but of a women's prison, which I thought was cool. That's cute, like I get it.
That was refreshing. It
was refreshing. I liked it a lot. And so he's a jailer of a prison, but he treats them with respect, right? He treats the women in jail as people, and you learn that he's actually a really sincere jailer. He tries to rehabilitate them, and so that's why he brings them on these missions, because that's their purpose, and then trying to also at the same time trying to some of them were wrongfully imprisoned, and so he's trying to help them get back into society and also clear their name, essentially, which is really cool. But anyway, so that's a little backstory on who we're talking about. This group of six or so women, something like that.
It was 6 women, yeah.
Yeah. But go ahead with your point.
So I think like when they introduce them, you get like title cards and everything, and like even the flashbacks for them, right? You get like whole flashbacks. So when that happens in the start of the movie, you're thinking, oh, yo, they might have a bigger like role to play, but you barely see anything else from these women, right? They're just there for just to kick ass.
They're eye candy, yeah, which is great. They do awesome. They're great.
Yeah,
I love those.
The action is great.
Action's fantastic. Very good. Yeah.
But there's no connection. Like, you don't feel anything. That's the problem with this movie, is that there's no subtlety. There's no breathing room for you to actually care about these characters, right? So when all this action stuff is happening, it's like, yo, I don't care.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't care about these characters enough for me to be invested into these action scenes, as good as they are.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like that was a wasted opportunity. They spent too much time on like those flashbacks that didn't go anywhere.
Right.
No, it was just a political statement.
And this is a Indian movies being overstuffed with ideas and characters is something that I'm learning is a common thing. People like seeing it, I guess, right? I mean, this is like a blueprint at some point. Having watched a few now, I'm like, okay, this is common. You know, to really just overstuff a movie because it's their way of keeping your attention. Maybe, right? But again, in terms of a story though, it's just there's so much happening. They're always throwing so much at you. And the irony is, like, part of me is thinking, is it because they feel like they have to overcommit to the 3-hour runtime that they must hit, that they just overstuff the screenplay, thus they must in edit, then kind of reel it back in. At this point, I feel like they shoot like twice as much as any normal American movie just to cut it down. Because even at 3 hours, dude, the editing of all these films is so quick. The pacing is
this one I felt
so fast.
This one I felt it very fast.
And it's done better than most, to be honest with you. It's at least done better than most, but it's just these big Indian epics are just so quickly cut. The pace is just so go. There's rarely a scene I feel like lasts for anything longer than a minute, maybe. You know what I mean? Like, it's the pace, and so this movie is that. But
like
even then, they have so much going on with all these side stories and themes that it just feels so overwhelming. At least for my taste, and it's just
for this movie, it's like plot point to plot point to plot point. Like there's no breathing room. Like for example, like that little kid Suji. Like why is she looking?
Also, why? Honestly, why does sorry, it's not, his name's not Jawan. It's Azad. Why does Azad? Why does that whole love story need to? Why do they have to get married? Like,
that
they don't need to do that. It doesn't even make sense. One of my notes is like, why the fuck would Azad want to marry the person that is chasing him? It doesn't help him at all.
It makes it even harder for him. Yeah.
It doesn't help him at all.
Why is a special officer who's so ranked up high in the police just marry this random guy after 40 seconds of meeting him just because the daughter
likes him? I know, it's so ridiculous. And this actress, I believe her name is Nayantara. Yeah. I don't know if she's a popular actress, but she does a good job.
She's a South actress, so this is her first Bollywood movie.
No shit. Oh wow, great.
I think she did an okay job for what it was.
I like her.
It was all right.
She's good. She's good. She's good. She's fine. I think she's not in my top.
It's like the first movie I've ever seen her.
Me too. So. I don't know, but she of course she plays what is her role? She's the head cop, whatever.
She's this
who cares?
Special officer looking for
Azad.
The team, the fucking Azad.
Exactly. She's like the Gordon to Bruce Wayne, like essentially. But in this one, they fall in love. But that whole side story just doesn't make narrative sense. It doesn't need to happen. But again, these are things.
I think it was just for the song. They just wanted the song straight up.
But these are things that are staples, though, right? Like in Bahubali, same thing happens. There's a whole section where Bahubali must fall in love with a character. She's never in the movie again, ever. In part 1 or part 2, she's never there. And it's like, what? So these are things to me that I'm like, okay, these are Indian staples, Indian movie staples. You must have. These are things that the Indian audience just loves. So I try not to be too.
Bro. They need, if SRK is in a movie, he needs to have a
romantic
leading
lead.
actress with him. Yeah.
Yeah, but like, why not take a risk? Maybe a romantic lead can be there, but you can just sort of. They can just have charisma together. They don't have to like fall in love. You don't have to have an entire sequence dedicated to them marrying. I mean, what do they have to get married? Just be girlfriend and boyfriend, if anything.
It would have been cooler if it was like they had like just a respect for each other. They're like on opposite sides or something. They have like charisma like that.
Correct.
You don't need to be married to each other and then have that be like a driving force to the plot, and it goes nowhere anyways.
100%. Right? So this is just like, again, it's them like stuffing all these things. They're just and they resolve their love by typically going through a number, which again, I like me a good Indian music number. That being said, some of these ones, like here in this movie, are just there for the sake of that, and it's just
random,
okay. Like I like this song, but God, this is gonna be 10 minutes. 10 minutes of this before we get back into the narrative, which I'm hoping even is something. But in juxtaposition to a movie that does it right, like Rocky Aur Rani had like the best music numbers that flows. It's narratively driven, and it makes sense. It completely goes with the tone that it's set up and the energy.
100%.
It's expertly well done. Here, it's just like, here it is.
It's a song for the sake of a song.
It's here for the sake of a song. And it's classic. Again, like Doom does it too. Like, I don't love Doom, but Doom does it too. Like, here's when they meet, and now we just got to have them do a music number together. It's just like, okay, fine, whatever. I guess we'll do it.
I like it when the songs have something to do with the plot.
Absolutely.
Like, they don't just come out of nowhere. Like,
absolutely.
Even me, I've seen a lot of Bollywood movies, bro. And like, I like it when they're narratively driven.
How, if you were to put it in a pie chart, you've seen a lot. I haven't seen a lot. In terms of the music numbers, what is the percentage of those that are narratively driven versus those that are just thrown in? What would you say? Is it 50-50? Is it 70-30?
Yeah, what's 70-30, bro?
70 being what? Just kind of thrown in?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
A lot of it just comes out of nowhere. Like, it's like, okay, the girl and the guy meet. They look at each other a certain way. Bam, the song. The song just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
There's no like
no build
there's
up,
no flow into
no reason.
It.
Yeah.
When a movie does it properly, that's when you realize, okay, like the music video makes sense, the music makes sense, and then you actually appreciate it. It doesn't bog down the movie.
It's a lot like I would akin it to like American humor at the moment, where I feel like humor in a movie, particularly in one that's not a comedy, let's say like it's a drama, half drama, or
like some MCU stuff.
Yeah, like MCU shit. It's a perfect example. It's like, oh, this is a moment right now that they feel like needs to have a beat where someone laughs, but the execution is so poor, the joke is so lame that you just
loses sincerity, right?
Yeah, it loses sincerity, it loses genuine energy, and you feel it. You're like, ugh. So, and then, but when it's done right, sometimes it's done right. Sometimes in a movie, the comedy is good and it's motivated, and you feel it. You're like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. I feel the same way about Indian music numbers when it happens. Sometimes that's how I feel about it. And so,
like, the songs are good.
Absolutely, the sequences are done well. But they're not narratively driven. Yeah, and that's the problem. And again, it's one of those things in Indian cinema you just have to expect. And at some point, I'm just gonna have to go. I can't really criticize it for that at this point, because that's what you expect. But it definitely gets points when it's narratively driven. It doesn't get any points if it doesn't.
Right. I don't hate them, but when they do happen, like, it depends on the movie, right? Like, for this movie, I think they should. It just comes out of nowhere. It just depends on the movie, right? Like, for what they're trying to do with this movie, as political as it is, as like focus on action as it is, the songs they're out of place. They're out of place.
Well, you brought up action. I want to move on to maybe some positive things that we liked about the movie. I think the best part of the movie easily, and this is where I actually would rewatch this movie again because it was so good, and that is the action, and not only just the action, but the visual composition of a lot of these shots. some of the best I think I've seen in Indian cinema. A big example of this is right at the top. That entrance when he's in the village. By the way, I forget where that is. I think it's just Indian border. I don't know. Fuck it. Whatever.
I think that was like Nepal or something. I have no idea. No idea.
I was losing my place in time. I was like, what era is this? Is this in the 90s or is it in the 1800s? I could have been both. I don't know. But
I was watching Bahubali.
Yeah, exactly. The style, I'm like, it looks great, but I'm like, I don't know what time this is. But anyways, there's this fantastic shot. It's in the trailer, but in the movie, it's even more sick. Is when he's in his Moon Knight form and he's wrapped up in bandages.
I was just gonna say that.
And he jumps off the cliff. Goes into slow-mo and that fucking lightning bolt behind his back. It is so cool. I'm like, that is the entrance.
I expected the whole movie to be like that.
That's what I expected.
That's what I wanted.
That's what I wanted. I thought he was going to be revealed to be some god, descendant of a god, and like, it was going to play into that the whole time.
And like he has like 7 different looks in the trailer. I'm like, yo, like what is this?
Maybe he's like lived through time, and each time he's a different kind of, he's reincarnated or something, or he doesn't age, something like that.
Yeah.
I thought that would have been a cool narrative plot point. That's not it at all. It's not even close. But I love that whole intro because goddamn is that so good. It's just the visuals. The way it just burns through him, then it reveals his face. That was SRK. Bro. If you just get hyped looking at it, you get hyped.
Like for me, it's like I grew up watching this guy my whole life, and to see him just like back in action, like making these big movies again, it's like, you just feel it, bro.
You feel it. Yeah. I totally get it, man. I feel it again with this resurgence of a lot of these actors and even American cinema, like Tom Cruise, like right in particular. You
Top
think
Gun Maverick.
They still got it, man. They still got it. Man. And SRK, I mean, is he reverse aging? He does not even remotely act or look or feel his actual age, and it's just like, that's insane. Like that is so. Yeah. That's a star. That is a movie star right there. And for the ages,
he's the last of the Bollywood movie stars, man.
You think so? You think
I think he's the last one. I don't think anyone could come close to him anymore.
It's hard
and a lot of people agree with that. It's a big statement.
I don't know. I'm sure it's his work ethic or whatever. He's just so dedicated. But like the guy is defeating death at every corner, and he's using it to. And he's living it up. He knows what it is. It's to make people happy. I think Hollywood in particular has lost that. We've forgotten why we make movies in the first place and why we have characters and actors like this. It's like show off their talent. Show off that you want to aspire to be these types of people. I mean, it's fake. We know that. You're not going to be wrapped up in bandages or whatever. But we're not stupid. We know why we like them. It's because they are in shape. They're smart. They're witty. They represent what you could be, the best of us, right? Like
the best of us. Yeah,
that's 100%. What you should be aspiring to be, and that's exactly when you watch SRK in particular, like this. It's like, how could you not feel that, right? Yeah. And so in terms, like, let's move quickly to SRK just really quick. Like, I mean, he's in top form.
He carried the movie.
He's in top form. Yeah, he's fantastic.
That's it. I think, because we're getting into spoilers now. The dad character.
Let's do it. Let's go,
bro. That's like the best I've seen.
Hell yeah! So big spoilers. But if you haven't seen it, Victim Rator. You think that he's Victim Rator this whole time. He's the guy in the beginning of the movie, and you're wondering, like, how the hell does that even make sense?
It's 30 years later.
It's 30 years later.
Why is he so young still?
Exactly. And you find out that it's because he's not the person in the beginning of the movie. That was actually his father. They just obviously they look exactly the same. That was his father. He's actually the son of that person. And you learn again. It's from the beginning of the movie. You realize that he was the soldier. He was Jawan. Yeah. And he was betrayed. I'm not really betrayed. They weren't friends, but like one of the arms dealers that he would get their guns from, basically got back at him for some. I don't want to go into that whole. It's a lot of shit. But he got back at him. It doesn't matter. He got back at him. He shot him off. He tossed him off a plane, and then he hits his head in the water, and like he forgets everything. And so there's that whole plot. Yes, right. And so. So true.
There's a whole lot of shit going.
But dude, that action sequence when he comes in and you learn, that was fantastic too, dude.
Yo, that took me off guard. It came out of nowhere. I'm like, yo, what the hell?
That's what
and the thing is, that's what's sick about it, because we've never seen SRK like that before.
Really? He's never played like what, like an older version of himself?
An older version, or like something this like action oriented.
Really?
We've seen some of it in like Dawn, right?
Yes.
And then we've seen it in Pathan. But like he made this comeback, like he took like a 4-year hiatus before Pathan.
Did he?
Because he was just he was delivering like flops after flops, bro.
Oh no way.
So like his movies weren't doing that good. So he took like a 4-year hiatus. He came back to he came back in an action role with Pathan.
Okay.
And like people barely ever saw him like that. Like the closest we got to it was like Dawn. So seeing that, it was, wow.
So he,
and then seeing,
So he actually in not Tom Cruise fashion, he wasn't known to do action cinema before this at all. He'd never really done like he never played the typical Indian muscular guy.
Yeah, he barely.
What? That's crazy.
And like Dawn was the closest we ever got to that.
That's crazy to even fathom, because even in Pathan, I was like, oh, he's been doing this since he was a kid.
No, man. No.
Wow.
Like SRK is known for his romantic roles.
I mean, I figured, but wow, so he's more like a Hugh Grant. Like, if Hugh Grant started doing action movies, that's what I think it would be. Holy shit. Like, he just comes out of nowhere.
Action.
That's crazy. Wow. So, okay. So then it's even more
so it's even
surprising.
Cooler to see. Yeah.
That he played
like this type of like character, he's barely, like, even an older character, he's barely ever done it.
Damn, so he's just getting started.
Him like that was just, he's just getting started with his action stuff, bro. This is the beginning.
Wow. Well, I mean, and so, let me ask you something. If you know this, do these action stars do their stunts? Most of, like, not most, but like when the camera's slow-mo, when they're getting their face, is that them?
That's them. Like when it's like very slow-mo, or like when they're doing like the entry shots.
They're doing that.
Well, they do a lot of slow-mo stuff. That's them. But when it's like the action, obviously there's some
part, like the heavy, quick action. I'm sure it's not. But oh wow, so they really do a lot of that.
You know,
again, like in Hollywood cinema, you just don't see that. You know, it's very rare you see it. And even these like Chris Hemsworth type characters, like you just don't. They're not doing that. You just know it. Except that he's done Extraction recently. I'm sure he did some of his stunts in that, of course. It's an example, but like a lot of people don't do that, and it's just like the dedication's not really like there, I feel like. But just know that this guy's is he pushing 60 or 70?
Let me check. I think he's like almost 60 something. I don't know.
He is almost 60. He's 57. Okay, so that's not too bad.
57.
He's like as old as my dad. Like he's like a dad.
Yeah,
in his middle age. So he's got some years in him still, but that's still pretty impressive. That's really, really cool.
Like he's done action before, like in like tidbits, you know, like in a romantic movie, there's a random actions,
right?
But he's never played like full on action character until like this year, basically.
So
that's pretty cool to see.
That is blowing my mind. That blows my mind. It really does, and
that's how that's the power of SRK. He can just pull it off.
I can't. Why did he take so long? That's my question.
That's what I'm wondering too.
Why did it take so long to do something like that? You would think he'd be primed for that, and especially for how long he's been in Indian movies. You would think, I don't know, like 20 years ago, he would have like dipped his toe in it or something like that. But that's
the thing is with SRK, like the audience expects him to be in like those romantic roles mostly.
Really?
Because he's known for that. He's the king of romance.
Wow.
So like his movies, all his iconic movies, they're literally just rom-coms.
I see.
So the audience expects it from him.
Yeah.
But they never expected action from him until now. So now that he did it, it's like, oh shit, SRK could do action.
Damn.
And like people are going crazy, bro. It's breaking records.
Look, with that background, I am not surprised that this movie does this well. It's pretty clear that at least the movie's going to give what people expect and want, even with this half-baked political other movie weaved into this movie. So it's gonna do well. And again, I didn't hate it. I didn't hate this movie at all. I didn't hate it. Yeah, I would still watch it for a lot of its great stuff, which again comes with this action stuff. I want to move really quickly to this action scene that I want to talk about, and we'll move into yours because I know it's different. But let's go into our favorite action moments. That truck chase scene, that took me by surprise, dude, because I've seen a few truck chase scenes in Indian cinema, because it's like one of the...
We've seen one in Jailer, bro. Like literally last week in Jailer.
I mean, look, it's almost a trope now that if you want to have a good action sequence that gives some sense of grandeur without really being too grand, it's a chase scene, particularly a truck chase scene, because trucks you can fake the speed of a truck because it is technically slow. It's not like going the speed of a van, of a car. You just
blew my mind right now, because I just noticed a lot of these action movies this year from India
have a truck scene.
A lot of the scenes involve a truck. Yeah, I just took that in
because like it just makes sense logistically. I think as in filmmaking, it's affordable. But here's the thing about this scene: you got like 4 truck scenes in one scene, and I see money on the screen, bro. You got 4 trucks going at once. You got like 6 people fighting on top of the trucks, which if it's CGI, shoot me now, because it looked really good. That whole sequence looked really fantastic. It looked like a Hollywood movie, and that's a compliment when I say that, because
that's a big compliment,
because action and CGI can be rough, because you don't get a lot of money in India, and so I forgive it for a lot of its rough edges, you know what I'm saying?
And like, what they've done with their budgets, it's insane, bro.
It's really impressive.
It's better than a lot of movies I've seen from Hollywood.
Dude, I just saw Pathaan. Pathaan is relatively new. There's a great action sequence there, but you can tell it's on a green screen. You can tell. Whatever, fine. This scene feels real. It feels practical, and there's a fantastic shot, which I go like, we haven't even done that on Hollywood. I don't think I've seen that. It's when there's a van sandwiched between 2 of those trucks, and then one of them rams right into that van, crushes it like a freaking soda can into the one in front of it. I was like, that is sick. I audibly went, oh, like in the theater, which by the way, unfortunately, there was only like maybe 4 other people with me in this theater. It was a Thursday night.
In my theater there was 300 people in my theater.
I wish I was in that theater, because like it was a Thursday night. It's fine. I get it. But
that's all right.
I was so hyped in that scene. I was like, that is fantastic.
And even in the scene when he gets off the motorcycle and he's smoking his cigar, and then he throws it into the gas, and then he explodes all the cars.
Look, dude, look. Here's the thing.
It's ridiculous, but it's fun, bro.
Here's the thing. I do believe there's a world where ridiculousness and execution really can marry together, where it's fantastic. It looks good. Just because the idea is stupid, it doesn't mean that it has to come off as such. Really talented filmmakers and really artists who are doing their craft are able to really sell it to you, and that's a moment that was so dumb, but they sold it to me with how they execute it. When he turns around in the motorcycle, there's a wipe shot that the motorcycle's in the foreground, and it like wipes, and he's there behind it, and he's just like slow-mo the whole. I'm like, let's have a baby, guy. Like, let's do it, man. Like,
you know what it is? It's the director too. The director, like these South directors, like these Tamil or like
Atlee,
South
by the way, who is the director of this.
They know how to present the hero, bro. They know how to make it look as cool as possible.
Exactly, they really do.
That's the one thing about directors. It's like when they have a hero, they'll make him look as cool as they can, no matter what. They'll give him like 40 slow-mo entry shots for no reason.
Yeah,
but you'll just get hyped every single time.
Absolutely.
Every single time.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you talk about slow-mo shots, at this point, I feel like Indian cinema is the king of them. Because the only time we really get them now is either Zack Snyder or Michael Bay, who do it horribly. These are like people that are big in our craft. They're horrible at that kind of stuff. People like Atlee and the slow-mo I've been seeing in Indian cinema, excellent. They slow-mo at the right time and at the right scenes. You know,
they know how to use slow-mo to its advantage.
Absolute effect. And there's a multitude of moments where slow-mo is used not to accentuate necessarily the action. It's used to accentuate the shot and like the composition that's being there. There's a beautiful shot in that raid. It's that I forget. It's at the hospital. It's the hospital.
Yeah.
At night, and the helicopter comes in with the cops and whatever. And there's this great shot where the helicopter rises. They're about to escape, and then the woman inspector, whatever her name is, the wife, has to like try to grab him. There's this beautiful slow-mo shot
exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
With the plane on the right, with him in the middle, she's on the left side.
She's trying to grab him. Yeah.
What a shot. Like that is a great shot. And that's where you can really use slow-mo to just accentuate the shot. It doesn't necessarily have to accentuate like a moment in a fight scene, like what Michael Bay usually does. And it's just like lame. You can feel how lame it is that they're using
with their slow-mo. It's like, it's not just they bring out the shot as well. It's like they bring out the emotion.
Exactly.
You can feel it. Like that's why they use slow-mo to its emotional capabilities.
You've hit it. Absolutely. 100%.
Like, when SRK comes in, he's like doing a slow-mo shit. Like, you feel the hype. Like, you really feel like, I'm supposed to be excited right now. Or like, let's say like the thing you just talked about, like her trying to grab him through the helicopter. Like, you're feeling it. Bro. It's like that. Like, that's excitement. Like, I'm on the edge of my seat.
Right.
And the slow-mo brings it out perfect.
100%.
Yeah, that's how it is.
It's seriously the action and the choreography, in particular the hand-to-hand combat. It's just
hand-to-hand combat's wonderful. It's amazing.
Probably the best I've seen in almost any Indian film. They really, really do a good job, and not just with SRK, like with the woman team. Any of the women there, like they really sell those fights. They do a great job. There's not one moment I'm like, that's not realistic. That doesn't make sense. You know,
the hand-to-hand combat, it gave me John Wick vibes, which is a big compliment.
A huge compliment, obviously. Yeah,
huge compliment. There's one part near the end of the movie where SRK and old SRK, they're fighting together.
Yeah,
and old SRK throws someone, and then the young SRK kicks him. Yeah. Like, yo, what?
Yeah, it's dude.
Like, bro.
And for whatever reason, again, it has to be execution, because there's a lot of wire work, wide shots that look just so dumb.
And
like,
credits to the director,
but that looked good.
His composition of the shots of the action. There's no shaky cam at all. You know exactly what's happening.
You can understand everything that's happening.
The way he uses his slow-mo and the way he uses like just the fight choreography. It's amazing.
They must have spent months. They must have spent months training everybody to do that, and it completely shows. It completely 100%. Shows how it just takes the action to another level. When you look at these other movies, by the way, that are done with way less budget, it makes you wonder, like, what the hell are you guys spending this money on? Like, spend it on, especially in an action movie, action thriller, fucking spend it on these, like, sell us the action, man, where you don't have 100%. To resort to whipping the cameras just to hide the lack of connection.
Just take more time to just choreograph it.
Yeah,
like,
just take
some better choreography, bro.
100%, because it really, really helps. Because look, you have a poor sort of screenplay structure. There are moments where you're just out of it, but then these moments, I will watch this movie again just for those moments, because they're so good. They're so good. Holy mother of God, they're so good. So
the cinematography in those shots, in those scenes, it's just like excellent. It just brings it to another level.
It's excellent. It's absolutely excellent.
It's honestly one of the best movies I've seen in terms of action.
I'm with you.
Indian cinema, 100%.
I'm with you. I would 100% watch this movie just on the action alone. I would also give credit. I want to give credit to the editing as well for these action moments. They're fantastic. It's the editing.
There's no like random choppy cuts.
Nope. And
they go on. It's very good.
Look, again, it's like in these old Indian movies, I'm sure a lot of budget has to go to the production, and so maybe they don't get the best editors, or they're just newer editors. Like Bollywood is that they've had to come up later than Hollywood. That being said, like there's just some excellent editing here, where especially in the train sequence in the beginning, these shots where they're just like these like shots where they're going to them typing on the computer, or going to a shot of like the light switching or whatever. It's got this great pace, and you're just with it. And it's fantastic, and it goes throughout the whole movie, and particularly in the editing of the action sequences, where they know exactly how long to stay on a shot, to sell it to you, move on. It's got great pacing. So it's fantastic. It's really, really great.
Plus all the shots in general, like they have a lot of visual noise to them.
Totally.
Like, even like
that's a beautiful way of putting that.
Not to make it like they add some life to it by adding like a lot of visual noise.
No, you're right, and that's a great term to use. I think I would probably add that as that was what I was saying. Is like, it's this visual noise where you don't necessarily need it. It's when like a camera goes into a place where it shouldn't really be. It doesn't really need to be there, but it's just for the for that feeling. It's for that pace, and it's fantastic. And a lot of action thrillers do it, but they really do it to a great effect here. Probably again some of the best I've seen in any movie action thriller 100%. I've seen in a while, in a really, really long time. So it's really excellent.
I thought the action in this movie was better than Pathaan, bro.
Oh, I was about 100%, 100%. Oh yeah. Well, speaking of Pathaan and a lot of other action films that we've seen, I want to end this whole thing with maybe a ranking of where you would put it. I look, for you, I'm sure it's a lot harder. I've only maybe, two hands to count the action cinema that I've seen from India. So it's easier for me. So, but in terms of, again, SRK, the hype, your top action cinema in your history of watching it, where would you say Jawan kind of falls, just to kind of round out the review for those who are maybe looking at this just to see if they should watch it or not, or did it live up to the hype or not?
I'm not gonna say this is like recency bias or anything, but the action in this movie is probably the best I've seen in any Indian movie.
Wow.
Like it's the hand-to-hand combat is probably the best I've ever seen. Like closest I would say is probably like RRR.
That's crazy.
Right?
Yeah.
But this movie, like, it gave me John Wick vibes.
Yeah.
Which is a big compliment, bro.
Yeah.
And it's perfectly executed. All the action was amazing. And SRK did an amazing job.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I think this probably has the best action I've seen in any Indian movie ever.
Right. But that screenplay just bogs it down. Being like the top.
It down.
The top.
If this movie had a better story or better screenplay, like, bro, this would have been the best action movie I've seen all year.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I would probably in my two hands that I can count action films that I've seen, I would put Pathaan above it, just because Pathaan just had that was a more consistent action adventure film, because it was really just tailor made to make you happy throughout its runtime. There's a lot of points in this movie where it was slogging.
Pathaan's a better movie in general.
Pathaan is a better movie in general. You're 100% right. I agree with that. Like if I were to pick one to watch, I would probably still watch Pathaan.
Me too.
For sure. If I had to sit down and watch it through, you know what I'm saying? Right? Like you just, of course, for 3 hours.
This one is like one of those movies you watch. You just watch the clips on YouTube.
You gotta watch the clips.
It's just one of those. If you don't watch the whole movie again, it's like clips. Search that up.
That's a good one. It's like it's a clip movie. Yeah, it's just a clip rewatch. Movie, yeah. And you're right. Like there's just so many scenes. Like they're really highlight scenes where I'm like, I would watch that just because that's the best I've seen in that particular, moment. That's the best I've ever seen it done, and I'm gonna watch it for that. But to watch it through all the way again would be like,
I wouldn't. I wish they just spent more time with like Azad and his dad, like more like just like
I
breathing
agree.
moments.
I think they could have just made that the movie would have been fine. I also think they didn't have to have like 6 women. Maybe just have like 2 or 3, and then you could have got into their stories better.
Yeah.
And so we could get a little bit of story with them more. I think would have been fine.
Like, I feel like the movie would have been really good if you see the whole prison thing where the guy's revealed to be like a snake or a traitor.
Yeah.
What's that guy's name? I don't know.
The sub-inspector? I don't know. That guy. Yeah, whatever.
So he becomes like a traitor. That came out of nowhere.
Yeah, that came out of nowhere.
If that was just like the third act was just in the prison, like that would have been so cool, bro.
Absolutely.
It's just like they're getting raided. It's like night. It's like red lights. That would have been so much cooler.
I agree.
If it was just that and slow character moments between the dad and the son. Because, it just comes out of nowhere. It's like, oh, shit, my dad's alive. Let's fight. Like, there's nothing. There's no, like, build-up.
No,
there's no, like, nuance.
One of the things about Indian cinema that bums me out is the fact that it's this 3-hour runtime. Because I know for a fact if they didn't have to hit that runtime, they could really just take the better parts of the scripts that they have and just dilute it down to the best parts. But I know it's just I know they're just trying to fill in this runtime, and
the thing is, bro, there's a lot of movies with a short runtime that do it amazing.
Well, I agree.
There's a lot of, and they're not mainstream. That's the thing. There's a lot of low-key movies that have good storyline, that have good action, that have a shorter runtime, that knows what to do with it. They're just not mainstream enough for people to like.
Exactly. Well, that is the problem. I think is that it's mainstream. Like when you say mainstream, it comes with 3
hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a structure to it.
There's a structure. You have to hit 3 hours.
There's songs. Yeah. There's songs.
And it's a shame. It's a shame because it's like there's a good movie in there, like a really good movie in there, and I'd rather just watch that than some of this other artificial stuff. You have to kind of fluff it in, and go through it again, you know. But again, this is what's beautiful about like learning about other of cinema in other places in the world, but that they have structures that they have to adhere to just as much as Hollywood does, and it's fantastic. It's really fascinating to see how those are different based on the culture that it grows around. And so again, at the end of the day, I'm just happy that there's cinema happening in other parts of the world where it's real and genuine, and it's people who love the art form, and it's really, really good quality. And so
100%,
I can only hope that Bollywood, not Bollywood, but all Indian cinema in India as a whole can only become better. And I think they are. I mean, again, they just have to make these. They just have to chip away a little bit at these things that their audience may expect. Maybe make the tickets a little cheaper. I get it, man. I get it. Like in India, a movie has to be this big thing. It has to be because it's expensive. It's and
a lot of these movies they ride on the star. Man.
Sure,
the star is exactly what they're doing.
Absolutely. And
if this movie came out with anyone else, bro, it wouldn't be as big as it is. It wouldn't even be as good.
No.
It's the star quality, bro. And Hollywood doesn't have that. No. Hollywood, they don't have a movie that comes out where like, yo, I'm only watching this for Tom Cruise. Like he's probably the only one who can do it.
We can have a whole nother hour talk on this.
I'm only watching this movie for Chris Hemsworth.
But here's the thing,
they don't have that no more.
Here's the thing, though. What you just said about Tom Cruise may be the only person who has that, but we just learned that he does not. Because
Mission Impossible
flopped.
Yeah.
Flopped. And it was an incredible movie.
It was a great movie. I fucking loved it.
Yeah,
I loved it.
It's a great action. I mean, it's great.
Breaks my heart.
It could easily be.
The Meg 2 made more money.
Yeah. Tony, oh my God. I'm about to cry. Don't even say that shit. Oh, that sucks, dude. Yeah, anyway, so it just shows we're doing something wrong still. Even someone like Tom Cruise, who had the world on his shoulders last year with Maverick.
He can't bring in the people, bro.
He can't. We've learned it's not just him. It's not just him. And that it's a bummer. It just shows we have a lot of work to do. He's a part of that equation, but he has a lot of work to do. And we could learn a thing or two about from Indian cinema for sure. With and we have Kalki coming out. We are slowly, America is slowly getting these movies. Jawan is playing in the theaters that are around me. They are. It's not. It has maybe 2 or 3 showings, but it's there, and that's cool. That's and really good.
I hope that happens, man. Like Indian cinema has been neglected so much.
Oh, painfully
for so long, man.
Painfully.
They just need people just need to realize yo, it's not just cringy dancing. It's not just crazy action scenes. There's more to it, bro. You guys just need to give it a chance.
Oh, I've seen. There's 2 movies I've said have immediately jumped over even most of my Hollywood favorites. One of them being 3 Idiots. Like that is a movie that is one of the best movies I've ever seen incredible. In my life. It's one of the best movies I've ever seen. That's it. Period. And there's a bunch like Barfi that is like one of my favorite drama comedies I've ever seen.
Like the best movie I've seen all year was Rocky Irani.
100%.
Straight up.
I like it more than Oppie. I like it more than Barbie. It's the best movie I've seen, and I've never said that about a romantic comedy. Never said that in my life. In my life, I've never said that. It's the best movie I've seen all year, easily, and I can't wait to watch it again. So
like there's some crazy.
No, it's really crazy. Yeah. Well, as we end here, is there any last things that you wanted to say about the film or anything?
In the comments, tell these guys to watch Om Shanthi Om.
Okay.
I've been telling them for so long.
So just really like what is that for me? Like what is it?
Bro, that movie, SRK, obviously.
Yeah.
Rom-com. I think you guys need to watch that movie. I think it's one of the best rom-coms of all time.
Okay, I'm ready.
You need to watch. I've been telling you guys for months. After Rocky or Rani, I think that might top it for you.
Okay.
Low key.
Wow, really?
I'm not going to say anything else, but you guys got to watch that movie.
I find it hard to believe that Rocky Aur Rani in Indian cinema is the best. Like, I'm sure it's in the top at this point, but like, I'm sure there were definitely gems before that, because it's not like it.
Yep.
I'm not sure. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not sure if it broke ground necessarily, like in terms of screenplay, if it was different. I know a lot of people think, oh yeah, that was like a good Indian comedy, or romantic comedy. But for me, it was just such a breath of fresh air, to the point where it's like, I've never seen anything like that. Like, we don't have rom-coms in Hollywood in particular like that. That is not a rom-com I've ever seen.
Bro, I'm telling you, once you watch Om Shanthi Om, you'll see why SRK is what he is.
Let's go.
And why rom-coms are his forte, man. You'll see. He's a king of romance.
Then we'll have you back on for that one then, with Alex. I think that's what's got to happen, man.
Alex needs to come back. You guys got to watch that movie, man.
Let's freaking do it. Abishey, man, dude, it's been a pleasure. I know you were nervous. Thank you so much for having me. I know you were first, but you're awesome, on my podcast. This is his first time on. You said it on camera, like you're like never on camera. So this is like,
it's my first time on camera ever. So if I look a little nervous, my bad, guys.
No, you were fantastic. I think everyone in the audience, let him know. Let him know he was not. He did a fantastic. I had a great time talking with you, man. I know you might think it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to have you on. Thank you so much for
Thank you so much
giving us like the time of day, man. It really does mean a lot.
It means a lot. Yeah.
It really does. Well, I appreciate it. It's mutual. I like that. I'm glad that it's mutual.
Yes, sir.
It very much is. So, guys, that's our review of Jawan. Please like and subscribe and hit the bell. And for more coming up, we do have a few things coming up. I think this might come up. I'll preface this, but I think either we did watch KFG. Is it KFG? KGF.
You watched
it? We watched that as bachelor
God
party.
Bless you guys.
Yeah. Oh my, bro. If that comes out before this, go watch it. It'll be up. If not, it will be up after this. It's fun. We have a reaction video. We watched the whole movie, and there's an entire. I'm not going to put up the entire 3-hour reaction. That's ridiculous. I'm going to edit it down. And then we did a review right after it where we ate some Hot Ones wings while we did it. And it was a fun time. So that was really fun.
That sounds pretty fun to me.
It was great.
I can't wait to watch that.
Yeah. It'll be up. Go watch it. Before you head out, like where can people find you? Do you have an Instagram or something?
I actually have a Letterboxd account. So check that out.
There you go. Letterboxd. Get on his Letterboxd.
Abishey. Check me out on Letterboxd. I do movie reviews there. So check that out, guys.
Nice. Guys, thank you again. And then we'll see you later. Bye.
Yes, sir. Bye.